What's up, y'all? Welcome to the live stream. We are capping the Landscapers mini series with one big live stream that summarizes 5 tips, one for each stage of the compass method. And if you're not a landscaper, still stick around because these can be applied. And next week, we're going to start the window washers mini series. So if you're a window washer, be sure to be here for that one. But let's just jump into it. I love Wednesdays because we just get to go with the flow. I'm coming to you in stunning HD today, and we're doing it live, one take, and I'm just going to look at my points here and there, and we're going to go over everything. You might be seeing this in clips later on. Perfectly fine. You'll always find the full-length videos on YouTube if you want to get the long-form version of anything. So we're going to start with foundation here. And we talked about a few different things for landscapers with foundation, but that's all about your niche and your branding, really dialing that in, right? And for me, it's all about matching like your offer and your services, which comes a little later, but you set it up right so that you can match them together, right? So you're looking for that ideal client profile. Who are the people you want to work with? What are the services you offer that match that really well? Okay. So let's say you're looking for families in the suburbs. That's a one type. And then the HOA association, that's a different approach. Trust me on that one. And so you might approach those two things differently. And maybe you don't like working with HOAs. Maybe you don't like working with families. So whatever it is you want to do, we're going to start tailoring you from the very beginning, from your foundation, to be reaching out to those clients. So something like your color scheme, the name on your truck, the branding, right? It all ties together to that ideal customer profile. Let's jump to the next one. Automation. So when you're looking at automation, we just want to start simple. We're going to go for the first 2 to 3 steps in your sales pipeline, right? Just making sure that when they reach out, that very first contact, that very second contact, or if they ask a question, that they're getting an instant response. Maybe it's not the exact answer, but they're getting a reply. They've been heard. You're getting back to them. When you get good at this, you'll set it up where they ask about irrigation. They get a link to your irrigation page, right? And that's a simple solution, but you get really good at this. You can answer specific questions with automation, and you're going to learn to do this through your emails as well. And so the very first, if you could only pick 2 things to set up on your first day of setting up automation, I would have that initial contact reply where it says, hey, we've received your message. We'll be reaching out shortly. And I would do a very simple email pipeline funnel where the people are receiving, when they sign up for your newsletter, maybe it's a customer, a job well done, they're receiving periodic, once a month is great to start. And maybe it has coupons. Maybe it's your referral program. Maybe there's a before and after. Maybe it's just listing your services or just your latest blog post. And so they're learning more about what you offer. And then so that's going to take us into traffic. So I'm going to say this one more time this week for the people in the back. Claim your Google business profile. It matters a ton. And when you claim it, put some real photos on there, some recent photos, get some reviews coming through from your customers. It doesn't matter if they are super recent. Maybe you need to go back in your logs a little bit. If you're struggling to come up with some new work and some new recent reviews, go back a little bit to a job well done, and get that review. Just ask for, and get in the habit of asking for them every time, right? But the Google business profile itself is a very powerful tool for search engines, even for AI. When people are asking AI about local businesses, it's going to look there as well. And so Google business profile, last time I'm going to say it for the week for the landscapers, claim it, put your photos on it, get your services and your hours to start, and then refresh it. Every time you're putting photos on your social media, add that to your social media channels, okay? Put a photo on there at least once or twice a month. All right. Offers. So we talked about like seasonal deals, right? Seasonal cleanup. For me, this spring came around. I needed my windows. And that's a pretty common thing. So the timing on that, whoever was here first at the right time and noticed my windows were dirty got the job, right? And so there's a lot of that. And so you want to package these things to make the client aware of it, right? Like, hey, the rainy season's done. Why don't you get your windows clean now? It's time to go into the summer and enjoy those beautiful views. The first person to say that to me got the job. And so there's a million ways to package that for your services, your jobs. What you see it all the time, like the fall, or I mean the spring startup for the irrigation, or the fall blowout for the irrigation. And so that's kind of like the day one stuff. But think about how that applies back to your foundation and your services that you offer and the services that you like to do, the things that you're best at. Build a package around that and put that at the front. And then the price. The price is the biggest thing, because when you have that really great clarity between the results and the price, like $99, oh, this is what I get for that, right? And it doesn't have to be your best, highest margin service. This is sometimes your way in, right? And so you want to show them what you can do and what you're offering for that price, and make it in a way that they can understand. And so that when you leave, they see, okay, I paid my $99. I got this line item done out of it, right? So there's no questioning. There's no more of this ambiguity between you and the client. You have a lot of transparency, and transparency is king. You're going to find as a business owner these days, whether it's with your employees or with your clients. It's going to take you a long way and a lot farther than trying to use maybe like an older tactic of like complicated cancellation structures and, you know, monthly, annual subscriptions and stuff like that. You don't need to. You can go that route, and there is a healthy way to do that, but you don't want to go down the sort of, you know, black hat marketing route of tricking people into signing up for things and not letting them cancel. So we've talked about all those great things. And let's jump into retention and customer service, which is step 5. And so what are your differentiators? We talked a lot about Reddit and Facebook groups this week. Those are kind of your two main social spots that are out there popular right now that I like to use. So if you jump in like landscaping Reddit, right? Or like jump in like new homeowner Reddit, like first time home buyer, or like newlywed couple Reddit, you'll see a lot of like first time home buyers, right? And, or, you know, what's really best to do is do this for your area. So that's where Facebook groups is great too, because if you jump into Facebook groups, you can get into like Denver, you know, moms of Denver, or gardening dudes of Dallas, whatever your city and your locale is. You jump into those groups, right? And just, this ties back again to your foundation. Whatever those services are that we've already kind of established and distinguished and built offers around, now we're going to search terms related to that just on Reddit and Facebook groups. Maybe it's mulch, you know, or xeriscaping. That's a huge one, right? People usually, they don't know which direction to go with it. They don't want to know if they want to xeriscape everything, or you know, they want to see examples. They want to know like the reality of xeriscaping, because it's, you know, it's a little bit different to maybe what their dad did or their granddad did. And so xeriscaping is a great one if that's like your specialty. A lot of people do that here in Colorado. To say, hey, I'm xeriscaping problems, right? Because these are going to be users coming on who are like, hey, my yard just didn't come out the way I wanted. I xeriscaped everything. It didn't come out the way I wanted. How do I get a little balance back to, you know, something more traditional without, you know, but still honoring kind of the core tenets of xeriscaping, like, and, you know, stuff like that's becoming very popular. Or whatever your niche is that we've identified, you're going to search that, and we're going to draw back down to that. And so what you're going to do when you do find these problems is you're going to give the answer, and schedule a time, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour. You don't have to get crazy. It's easy to get sucked into these things. Schedule a time to answer a few questions and say, hey, I noticed you had this problem. Here's a great picture I did of a job a few months back where they had a very similar issue, and they were kind of regretting how much they converted and how much grass was gone. And this is what we did to bring that balance back in a very simple and cost-effective way. And maybe they hire you for the job, maybe they don't. But regardless, hundreds of people are going to see that expertise in your area. And that is the number one way to not only boost local SEO, because Google's now, when people type in your city and xeriscaping, Google now looks on Reddit and sees your answer, and it points people to you. And so there's just a million ways to optimize that local SEO by being that local go-to expert. And you need to look on Facebook groups. So the moms need to have you on speed dial, okay? And that goes to one last thing I really wanted to touch on, which is to reach out and say thank you. When you find these ideal customers that love the service that you offer and they're looking for the services you provide, and the job goes great, first of all, get that Google review, because we've already covered that. Get the Google review, but make sure you say thank you. And the thank you economy is here to stay. If you've heard that term, it's definitely here to stay, and I'm totally here for it. I love the fact that people are kind of have raised their bar again on the expectations of customer service and retention. And so maybe you have a client and you drive by 2 weeks later and something has happened, there's, some new weeds are popping up, let's say. And you just say, hey, I noticed there's a couple weeds popping by. Do you mind if I have one of the guys swing by and just grab those for you? So, you keep that fresh look a little bit longer. Whatever that looks like. Maybe it's a report. If you guys have corporate clients, they love reports, right? So pictures at the end of each area. Hey, this is what it looked like when we started, and this is what it looked like when we left. I know we're giving you the automatic monthly service, and we're going to be, that we're going to be here when we say we're going to be here. But I do these reports for you so that you really know the value you're getting from each season from us. I think that's really important with your corporate clients, and take that to your residential clients as well. Be like, hey, this is what it looked like before and this is what it looked like after. And then you can kind of tie that in with your permission to be like, hey, can I take some before and after photos as part of our report? And then you can kind of get in at the end and be like, hey, can I also use these as part of my review? And that kind of like eases you into the comfort process of asking for photos and reviews. Cause I know it can be a little awkward when you're like at somebody else's property and then you whip out the iPhone and the microphone and the lab mic right now. So just some strategies you can try to boost that retention, and some ideas that I use when I've been doing these kind of things in the past. So let's jump down to the frequently asked questions for the week. These were just like comments. Mostly, honestly, you guys usually DM me, which is totally fine. No need to be shy though. You can ask in public, because I think a lot of these are shared issues or comments, or some of them are just like outright criticisms, but we'll cover those too. We love that. So if I'm not outgoing enough and I don't want to be on camera, that's really typical. It took me a long time to like kind of build up my comfort level with that. And even when you do get comfortable, it doesn't mean like you're necessarily doing what's best for your just because there's people who are comfortable, but you don't necessarily want them on camera saying things about your company, right? And so a great way to do it is like the faceless idea, where you're just showing the jobs, or maybe you're just showing hands on tools from like the face down kind of view. That's a great way to do it. A lot of people find that their voice is stronger than like their film or camera presence. So use your voice for voiceovers. I have a couple of clients who are really, really good. They don't like to, they're not so great at anything other part of the media aspect, but they're really good with their voice. So we can get some B-roll and some footage of maybe the other type employees, and then add their voice to it, and it just crushes. So that's one way to do it. And then I would look for the employees that do kind of thrive or strive to kind of be doing media already. Like, if you got people in their 20s or younger, they're going to be doing stuff for their socials, and I would definitely look for people who take pride in their work, especially. That's another approach. Like maybe you have someone who's not a big social media person, but they do the best edges every time you guys go out and do a cleanup, and their edges are just clean. And you've noticed they spend an extra 2 to 5 minutes on their edges, and that's why they're so beautiful. And you say, hey, you pull them aside. Hey, Frankie, your edges look so good. Can I take a video of you standing in front of them for the website, for the social media? And Frankie, who maybe he's a shy guy and he doesn't normally like to do that, but he takes pride in his edges. So that's a good way for you to like ease into that conversation of having an employee be willing to do something for the social media or for the website, right? So that's one approach there. And then, so you could go for the pride approach or look for the fun approach, like the person who's already filming themselves being goofy off in the corner, right? Maybe you can redirect and reharness that energy into some good for your business, right? So let's get to the next one here. How much should I spend on marketing? Honestly, depending on what level you're at, if you're not already spending money on marketing, I wouldn't. jump into spending. I would see what works. We call it like an A/B test, whether that's a website or a commercial or just a social media post. Try two different ideas you have and see which one works better. And don't just try something once. Maybe try something 2 or 3 times before you just like toss it, because maybe you posted at the wrong time, or maybe you missed a mark slightly. So, do it scientifically, change 1 or 2 things at a time and kind of compare and be like, oh, well, this got 1,000 views and 200 likes and this didn't get any. And compare and contrast what the differences were, and build that up before you ever spend a dime on like any social media advertising, unless you've already kind of built to that level and you know what you're doing. I wouldn't jump into feeling like you need to spend money on advertising. I know there's a lot of outward and downward pressure that's like, hey, come spend money on ads, but you don't need to jump into that until you really know. Until you've gone through the 5 steps and you know what your foundation is and you've automated a little bit and you've gotten some of these basics down, there's no need to jump into spending money. Is email market worth it in landscaping? Yeah. So I think you're probably, I get, this question came up a few times and there was kind of a different basis behind it each time. But the key thing was like, well, I'm doing all this outbound email marketing, kind of like people do mail. I have some mail flyers around here where they just blast their whole city with mailers. And it's like, okay, I'm blasting the whole internet with emails. And, my conversion rate's less than 1% or something like that. And then even when they do reach out, only 40% are converting. And so, yeah, I would say, it's kind of like the mailer approach, right? If you've been successful with the mailers or not, you'd kind of know like, it can work really great if you're doing it right. It can also be kind of a drag and a letdown. It can feel like a lot of shouting into the void. And so when it comes to the emails and the marketing, really dial it in. And so you're only emailing your past clients. You're only emailing people that signed up for your newsletter. You're only emailing people that want your services, right? That showed some sort of interest. That feels like a lot more fulfilling. It feels a lot more targeted. It feels like a lot more results-driven, data-driven, right? And so what are some things you would send them? So we talked about maintenance reminders. That's huge, especially for like your corporate clients that maybe they're kind of checked out. It's easy for them to forget that they have a great landscaper, and then like Johnny Lowbid comes in 3 to 5 years down the line and they take a risk on him, and then they're calling you back 6 months after canceling your contract apologetically, right? So you can avoid that entire situation by kind of front loading it and being like, hey, we got you. Remember how this landscape looks great? It's not the Yard Elves. That's funny because there is a Yard Elves around here and they're a great company. But take note of who the Yard Elves are, right? And so that's a really good approach. I would say the maintenance reminders. If you have any seasonal offers, send those to your existing clients. And then a referral flywheel, a referral cycle is going to be your best friend as time goes on, because we've identified your client type, we've catered to them, we've provided them great service and gotten reviews. So now we want them to tell all their friends or people they know who share these interests about us and our services, and get them some great service as well. And so the referral wheel, however you design that, is going to be really instrumental to like your sustained growth kind of at that mid-level point. I'm afraid to start a bonus program because, and then there's like 10 different reasons people listed they didn't want to start a bonus program for their guys. And this is response to my Protiv video earlier in this week or last week. And for those of you guys who missed that, Protiv is a automation software that lets you implement your time tracking against your labor budgets. And then if, kind of feed that information to your crews. And so if the guys are doing well on hours and saving the company money, they get a portion of that paid out to them. And the reverse is also true. Like if they're not doing well, there's no bonuses, right? Or it can even, like, you can set the bonus period for like a week, a month, a quarter, so that, you know, it aggregates all jobs for a set period of time, right? And I mean, people have tried to do this on spreadsheets since I can remember as well. And so with varying levels of success, if you can dedicate maybe like 2 or 3 people, depending on the size of your company, to running that kind of a thing, that's great. But I like Protiv because of the automations, right? Yeah. And so I think there's a lot of reasons people are scared to do it. But I would say, again, don't jump into it, right? It's this awesome thing. And the reason it's so awesome, because a lot of people are like, why should I give the guys a bonus? That sounds like a nightmare. Well, so when we look at the data behind it again, it's about 10% gains across the board. And when I say across the board, I'm talking 10% gains to your workers' productivity, 10% gains to your margins, because the math behind it, when you set it up right, it just, all you're doing is incentivizing your best workers, right? And so the gains across the board, it's pretty much every single level of your business is going to see a 10% or more improvement. And a big portion of that is actually in recruiting, right? Because the top guys are going to be talking about this. When you do a bonus program right, guys talk about it, gals talk about it, and the word gets out. And so the top talent is naturally attracted to you. And so this goes back to don't chase, attract. So we're not chasing clients we don't want. We're attracting the ones we do. We're not chasing the employees we don't want. We're attracting the ones we do. And the way we do that is through great incentives. And just look at the Protiv model, check out my video about bonus, and we'll do more on it in the future because it's a very, very deep topic. But there's a way to do it where you're just splitting savings. And the transparency element lets you really incentivize your guys on like a gamified level, if you've heard the term. So it's like, just like when you're swiping on like Candy Crush and there's like levels and elements to it, you can kind of implement that with your employees and do like a really robust reward structure that's actually fun for everyone. And yeah, that's really all I got to say with that. But start out slow. Don't just go out, hey guys, we're doing bonuses. Everyone's going to get bonuses. It's going to be great. Just look at the data. Just look at your labor budgets first. Like how much is it costing me to do this? How fast can a fast crew do it? And how much does that cost me in labor? How long does it take the slowest crew to do? What's the average between those two? What's the average labor budget for installing a brand new irrigation system? And then compare that to what you're charging. And you might find the best part about this process is about going through this bonus process is early on, you're going to find profit leaks. So bad profit margin. You're going to find lead leaks. You're going to find places that people wanted more services or didn't buy, and you missed it for whatever reason. You're going to find all these little things you can patch up before you even get to the point of like, okay, I need to balance my labor budget against my expenses, right? Or against my profit, essentially. And so, yeah, it's a great tool to kind of like give you all these great insights into the financial health of your business, with the end goal being like, okay, I'm going to have the most robust recruitment in my city because every landscape worker from here to 3 towns over is going to be talking about my incentives program, right? And so it's just a win-win-win-win. All right, that's going to do it, I think. Okay, so a lot of you asked a lot of, more about me and the person behind the camera. So I had a couple points I'll just throw in there to cover. Time is short on the short form videos, but since you're here for the long video, you get to know the real me a little bit more today. So yeah, I'm from Colorado. My parents are pretty awesome. My mom was an Air Force vet. She served for 10 years. My dad, my kid description, I guess, of his work would have been that he was a carpenter, but I'm sure it was much more complicated than that. He works for, in bureaucracy now for the state government. And so, let's see. some defining roles for me, I guess in my youth, I worked for Youth Corps, and we did a lot of cutting trails, a lot of like, week long work in camp Monday through Friday, and just a lot of awesome experiences. Got to go in workplaces people don't normally get to tread, and got to sleep overnight in some really awesome places and have some really cool encounters with wildlife that were, a little extra. And another big part of my youth was we did service trips to Mexico and to South America when I was in high school. And so just, getting to build some stuff down there and really experience and be part of different cultures from, like urban Mexican culture to like native Mexican culture, which are very at odds with each other and very black and white, and kind of get to experience it all and help people along the way. It was really impactful. And then so after that, I'm trying to think here. Yeah, so I had my son when I was 19. I studied science in college. I went to Front Range, the community college, for 3 years, and then I did 3 years at CSU. My undergraduate research, so I studied biochemistry, but my undergraduate research was in phytopathology, which is basically plant disease. I'm actually a published researcher. I published, co-authored a paper in plant disease, if you ever want to check that out. We did field studies on potatoes, essentially powdery scab for all you San Luis, Colorado potato farmers out there. So that was a very fun and interesting time in my life, and I got to apply a lot of my data-driven stuff to ag and, more of what I had learned and done in conservation and growing up. What else? So yeah, after college, I worked in all sorts of like management and director roles in pharma, manufacturing, finance even. But the culture, some of the culture stuff wasn't for me, I realized, especially in pharma. But there was like a core theme. I always was helping the business to kind of see what their numbers were and then apply that to actions, right? And then adjust our actions to get the numbers we want on the paper, right? And so, and at the core of it was helping the business and helping and reading the business and understanding it. And so that's kind of where like my genius zone lies and why I'm able to live in my genius zone today with helping home service businesses, because I love what you guys do and I think it's so important. And it's really kind of, I've been able to live and breathe it for the last, 5-10 years myself. And there was a time where I was maybe drifting more into the white collar, sit at a desk and that sort of stuff. And, I just felt better on a shovel working the earth. And I think a lot of you can kind of relate with that as landscapers. I'm sure you can. So I also got a thing for overlanding in my F-150. But yeah, that's about it. That's me. And that's it for the Landscapers mini-series. You'll see these videos chopped up, so you might get one tip at a time. Just stay tuned for the rest. And next week, we're doing window washers. And we'll go for 2 weeks on the window washers, give them plenty of time to get their tips. And we're just going to keep switching it up. We're going to keep moving. And don't hesitate to reach out. If you're an electrician and you want to know right now, today, hey, how can I use this? Just shoot me a DM. Just drop it in the comments, and I'll get you squared out. So thanks for checking in. Thanks for checking it out. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.